Welcome to another episode of the Director's Chair as we discuss the works of David Lynch, as we unlock the mysteries and all the many subplots going on in the little community of Twin Peaks. We get some tidbits on what's going on with the main murder case of Laura Palmer, but we've got lovers' tiffs. So what is it? A triangle? A quadrangle? We've got
It gets a triangle.
We got a supposed renowned food critic and travel critic coming to town.
We have a new Japanese investor.
Yes, Audrey gets rescued. We get to meet the wonderful Michael Parks and his attempt at a French Canadian accent. We got more mystery into the Lucy and Andy drama.
And Andy,
Yeah, there's a lot going on in these 3 episodes.
Yeah, I loved.
we also finally get the introduction of Harold, which we'd heard about, and we finally get to see him. So Lee Von Dolen finally joins the cast, and does a phenomenal job with his part. Honestly, he does a great job.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite characters in the whole series. I'm sad that he's only in it for such a short little period, but his introduction was just such a great addition to the story, and his connection with Laura, brings out so much about her, and also adds such layers to the mystery that we've got. So I'm glad that we're in the section where he really gets to shine.
Yes.
Yeah, and I gotta say, Colin, you had shared with me earlier that when you were watching these episodes, you were looking the actor up, and apparently he sadly passed last year.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I gotta say, just rewatching these, and there's a little bit more to uncover, but in these 3 episodes, he does a nice job of being, it's mysterious enough he can be menacing, but also there's like a vulnerability to him at the same time. So it's like he's playing victim and like captor all in one role.
Yeah.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Here, what he does so well is when you're given the role of an agoraphobic, right? Like the easy path is to play it for laughs or to play it cheap. That he's just like, oh, I don't want to go outside. I don't want to talk to anybody. And he does not go down that path. What Lee Von Dolen does is give Harold a real soul, and he gives him layers so that you do get the vulnerability. You do get the sense of menace and mystery, but you also get genuine sympathy. Like you really do feel for that character. For the short time that he's there, he makes an incredible impact. And that's a combination of fantastic writing, of understanding the character needed to be more than a one-trick pony, and really and truly a fantastic, subtle and nuanced performance from Lee Von Dolen. I mean, it's a little over the top when it needs to be, but really and truly needs to be for certain things. Again, going with the melodrama and the flavor of the series with its tattooed, on its sleeve of the fact that it's a soap opera. He does such a beautiful job of playing in that realm, but it never becomes silly or goofy or soapy. It just, again, there's a certain level of realism that's in Twin Peaks that we all know and love and accept. And he plays in that world so beautifully that, again, it's one of those performances that really does stand out. The candle that burns twice as bright burns half as long. So he's not with us long enough, but at the same time, he's with us enough to really make an impact. And when he is gone, the loss is a shocking one. It's a sudden one. It's a tragic one. But it's a smart cutoff point, because there really wasn't a whole lot more that he could do without becoming a caricature. So I feel like his arc, as small as it is, it's a super important arc, and it's actually a very rewarding arc as far as just the execution of it and the emotions that come with the various situations that you see Harold in.
I agree with everything you said, and I think it's one of the strongest performances in the show, even for though it's only
Absolutely.
there for a few. Like, there's so many. We've talked about quite a few of the strong performances. There's so many, but this one stands out for me too. Like, he comes in and he captivates us. He is, like you were saying, both a bit frightening, but also just so enticing and so enrapturing. He's just got those eyes and the way of speaking that just draws you in. You can see why Laura was drawn to him.
Sure.
I'm glad we get a little bit of him in Fire Walk with Me. I wish there was a little bit more of their relationship in that too, but I
Yes.
know there's only so much that there could have been. But I would have loved to have seen more of Laura really getting to know him and finding, because at the end of the day, we know he was probably a great source of solace and peace for Laura, in the moments when she needed it. And at this point, we don't really know that yet because we're not sure if he's a threat or if he's not. But sort of down the road, we get that sense, and it would have been lovely to see some of that. But at the same time, like what he does give us, as you said, is just a wonderfully satisfying arc and an amazing performance. And it is sad that the actor's not very old, unfortunately, has passed and is not able to give us any more.
It was wonderful when Psych did their episode of Dual Spires. Lenny Von Dolen actually plays Sheriff Andrew Jackson in that episode.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, with the other people that they brought back from Twin Peaks, because apparently James Roday is a gigantic Twin Peaks fan. Right. It was so great to see him get to come back and be in a world similar to that, and just perfect. I mean, Lenny Von Dolen, there's something about him. He has this very unique look. He's not your typical lead man look. There's a off kilter kind of vibe to him that you can almost see that he could play a menacing or a dangerous character. That person where it's just kind of right below the surface, which of course Lynch loves that kind of stuff. But the other thing I think is interesting when you look at his performances, Harold, is that you get the vibe of like there's a tragedy that, man, can you imagine who Harold could have been if he wasn't agoraphobic? Like what kind of life would he have led? Artist, as just an interesting human being, as someone who had stories to tell and wanted to share stories. What would he have been like if he could have been in public? And you really, again, those are things that come into my mind where I'm like, man, like what could he have been had he not been agoraphobic? And it's funny, like I shouldn't be thinking about that because it's not anything to do with the murder of Laura Palmer. It's not anything to do with any of the major, I mean, it is, but it isn't. But it's like, those are the kinds of things that upon rewatching, again, the reward that you get is the ability to kind of look at these layers that we weren't even given, but they kind of come into thinking because there's just so much depth in these performances. And it's again, I think every performance on the show is practically Emmy worthy. They really were. I mean, like there's such depth and such humanity, these very ludicrous characters at points. But it's all, there's always that their toes are just enough in the world of reality that it always feels genuine. It never feels silly or goofy or over the top too much. It just always finds the right note. And Harold is just one of those characters that really, like, every time I go back and watch it, he stands out to me even more. I don't know, Colin, is that kind of like your vibe too? Like you just kind of you catch new things with him every time you watch him.
Yeah, I find myself more when I watch it too. I get more and more frustrated with Donna, more and more angry at her. I feel like, she plays so fast and loose with people during this section. And I mean, I think she atones for some of it. She comes to somewhat of a reckoning, but at the same time, I think she, at this part is really making bad decisions. And that's frustrating because
when you look at
season one,
ultimate end. Yeah.
And I just wish there was, and again, I think dramatically it's the right course to go. But I mean, just from a human point of view, I wish she had found a way to befriend him and get the information that she wanted by connecting with him, as opposed to having to sort of exploit him. And
and exploit she does. I think that's a really important word there in the situation, is that Donna's not innocent. And we keep talking about how the more you learn about these characters, the more you find that they're not who they seem to be on the surface. And
Right.
Donna,
Yeah.
in this particular section, that's really coming to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can even see it in Maddie. Maddie is not happy with this
Oh, yes.
plan, like sort of jumping
No,
through
not at all.
the arc of these 3 episodes. But Maddie, you can tell, is not 100% on board. She goes along with it, but she, you know, for different reasons.
Almost because she just really doesn't know what else to do. Like, and she
Yeah.
kind of knows. I
Mhm.
think it's that this is going to happen whether I'm involved or not. So I might as well try to make this work as peacefully and easily as possible. She definitely feels like kind of a, well, her arms are behind her back sometimes, like her arms twisted behind her back, and she's kind of pushed into it. So, yeah, it's definitely not. She is not all in 100%. Like, oh goodness, you're completely right. But I think, yeah, it's apprehension of it's going to happen anyway. So I might as well try to make this soften the blow as much as possible. If something goes out.
Yeah, Donna puts so much pressure on her too. Like, I think she's trying to, you know, repair that relationship to a certain degree, and I think that, you know, again, Donna's using her as well. It's kind of like I said, this part of it sort of makes me sad. And again, really good writing for that. It's not a critique of the story. Yes. I think it's excellent, but it brings out a lot of emotions as I watch this, especially knowing where it's going.
Yeah, you know what's crazy, and I think it's either episode 11 or episode 12. I can't remember. But only 12 days have passed since the pilot. It's less than 2 weeks. All this has been going on. And, you know, talking about Maddie, it's like, I mean, I guess I understand you're there for your aunt and uncle, but I'm like, that's a long time to be lingering around. Like, where?
I mean, she's technically a schoolgirl, right? Like,
right? Yeah, like she's missing school, and you know,
I don't think she's in school. I think she's just older enough that she's. Because she talks about working, doesn't she? Talk about working at one point. That she has to go back to her job. I think.
Oh, you know what? That is right.
Slightly older.
Oh, okay. Right. She's probably like a year or two older than everybody else.
That's right. Not much, but just enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think
how much leave does that girl have, man?
Right.
Right. Exactly. This is a job in the 90s.
Right. Dude, she didn't have 2 weeks off. She's losing money right now. Well, looking at the first episode that we're talking about here, I like the fact that, you know, again, we're talking about like all the different talent involved. This is the episode directed by Leslie Linka Glatter.
Yes.
Who really came into the 90s. She had a tremendously good film, Gas Food Lodging. Right. And that was really, you know, the first thing I saw from her outside of Twin Peaks, and a fantastic little indie flick. It really is. Mm-hmm. But I really like, again, her approach to handling this episode. You got Robert Ingalls, you know, doing the duty on your screenplay. And Ingalls definitely was very in touch with Lynch and Frost. He definitely is responsible for some of the excellent writing of the series. When Lynch and Frost aren't there, Ingalls is one who really picks up the slack. He does big time. But this is the first episode when we first meet Harold. The other thing that I like here is where we start getting the whole thing about the letters underneath the fingernail. Because Cooper looks for that in the pilot episode with Laura. And we don't know what I mean, if you haven't seen the whole story, you don't know what the hell he's looking for. Like, why would he be looking for a letter? Right. What the shit does that mean? Like, what? Like, what is this? And then, of course, this is where we start piecing it together with Ronette. And then we learn about, of course, Teresa Banks, and that there's something going on here. Something bigger is being planned. And I like the fact that we start getting that because, you know, again, until you saw Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me and you see that incredibly rough sequence to watch with that fingernail getting popped. Like, God, that's still hard to watch.
Yeah.
You don't know what we're talking about. Why are we looking at fingernails? Like, yeah, her fingernails are dirty. She was in a horrible place. What are you looking for? Like, what the hell? And of course, now we start getting the B for this one, and we already had an R. So it's like, you know, and the T. So it's like the R, B, and T. You start figuring out. When I first saw it, you know, my friends, it's Robert, it's Bob, it's got to be Bob.
Right.
And then Cooper ends up putting it with Robert's son. And I'm just like, okay, I forgot about that going back through here. But it's just, man, you start getting the things all falling together. We get Leland's creepy scene.
Oh, yeah.
He's the poster for Bob and the matchstick.
Yeah, when he does that match thing, like, it's like he is, well, I mean, you know, we'll find out eventually. And I think the next couple of episodes.
Yep.
Coming up. Yeah, it's coming up. But that is such a chilling scene, man. Oh.
And
I was just
go
going to
ahead.
say, there's moments in these episodes where now that you know, there are times when they're daring you not to guess that it's Leland, because there's this,
Yeah.
there's the opening scene of the next episode. There's some moments in this where once you know, you see it explicitly. And what I like about this scene, when he's talking about the neighbor, it really does imply this sort of history of trauma and abuse within families, right?
Oh, yes.
So
Oh,
again,
Mhm.
all the different ways you can interpret Bob, and you can interpret evil, and you can interpret the sort of this. This is one of those pieces that really speaks to kind of real life sort of abuse situations, and the implication that Leland was abused as a kid is, you know, a really interesting and I think important development of the series here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it definitely is one of those, you know, as I've said before on this, you know, I love Leland so much that my approach to the material is that he really is possessed. It's not him consciously doing what he does, but it's also that thing, like, if that is the case, if he is possessed, like, was it potentially someone else possessed by Bob looking for a new host, much like we know that Bob is trying to do with Laura, and this person who was possessed, this Robertson who lived at that summer house, possessed by Bob, does the same thing to Leland. And then Leland ends up being possessed by Bob. So basically what happens to Leland is what Bob wants to do to Laura.
Yeah,
you know,
but Laura's too strong. I mean, I love
Mhm.
the narrative that sort of plays out through Firewalk with Me, that Laura is actually heroic in the end,
She makes the
saving
choice.
herself from that, exactly, and saving others from that. Like, I think that turns the narrative on it of these sorts of stories on its head, and is a really incredible story. So I love that kind of thread that follows through.
The victim becomes the victor. It's very potent. It's very potent.
I tend to look at it more in terms of Bob being a symbol, and that Leland being an abuser, but this history of abuse sort of, and sort of the you know, that his you know, he himself is a survivor and has, unfortunately, is perpetuating it. I think you know, this piece is both, I think when you watch it through any of these lenses, is both quite chilling, like watching him say it, like, it is a terrifying moment, and Ray Wise's his performance is, again, just incredible.
How he didn't get an Emmy,
but it's also
know.
but it's also just so heartbreaking, because again, if there is any indication that he's like, it's just also tragic.
I think too, when you look at the way he plays that scene too, you almost see him like reverting to a child, which is what again kind of makes it so chilling, is because a child remembering something that horrible, I mean, that a child went through something that horrible is just awful and terrifying in its own right. But almost like reverting back to it because of all the loss and the grief and the trauma he's just suffered, it just adds that extra layer to it, man. I mean, again, Ray Wise, so phenomenal in this role, so phenomenal. And every single time he's on screen as Leland Palmer, he's just, he's amazing. He genuinely is. But that scene, boy, that's the one, when I go back and watch that episode, that is one that immediately just, you know, if I had hair, like, it'd be standing, you know what I mean? Like, it's just that creepy. It's so, and again, it's that creepy, it's that mysterious, it's that sad. Boy, it just hits all the notes, man. I mean, it really does. And you could watch that scene 3 times in a row and it can play differently to you each time. And I love that about it. It's just, man, it's so good. It's so good. I'm looking at my little Cliff Notes thing here. I'm trying to remember what all happened in this particular, because I watched them all together. So I was trying to remember which one happens and what happens. So,
well, the nice thing about these three is
where though we also get. This is where we also catch up to what's been going on with Audrey stuck at One-Eyed Jacks.
Yeah, I think one of the things about these 3 episodes is that they cover, and why they were good to watch together, is they cover sort of a series of arcs, right? That all kind of sort of play out into the next chapter really well. So you're right, it's sometimes hard to remember exactly what's going on in each one of the specific episodes. And partially because I'm glad you brought up Leslie Lynn Cook, because I do think she is one of the strongest directors to work on this show. I think she's one of, other than Lynch, maybe the most episodes. And she just, I really like her approach to it. I find like she maintains the,
I think so. Yes.
maintains the tone of the show, but also just really drives the narrative in a very like really great way, because it's both like really like you're hooked into the story, but also it keeps it, it keeps it going, and keeps the elements that make the show magical. So I'm glad that you mentioned her, because I think she's just one of the great behind the scenes people in the show. And same with Engels. I think you're right. I think he really fills in and fills in a lot of the gaps, and is kind of the third, in terms of the writing, is kind of the third, magician behind the story, and after Frost and Lynch. But what I want to say about episode 10 is that this is the moment, I think there's a moment here that reverberates throughout, like the movie, and then the return is the moment of Gerard in the bathroom, right? Like elements of this keep coming back and keep getting revisited. And I love that, so it's this iconic moment of him, transforming before our eyes, that is so well shot. Like it's just so creepy and exciting. And, his performance is great in that. And you just like, it's so chilling to watch him become Mike.
Yes.
Before our eyes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And even the way that's shot, formed, it really, like when he becomes Mike, like you're looking at a different person, man. Like you really are. And the music, the way it's shot, the way it's performed. I mean, it is some top tier stuff, man. Again, how this was on television, like regular network television, man, but just breaking all the rules and making up better ones as it goes along. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it truly is a game changer, and there are cinematic shots in this, and this is when TV's in the pan and scan presentation. Still, we're not shooting TV in widescreen.
Yep.
So it's amazing what they were able to do, and yeah, I love all the little plot lines and how everything kind of comes together, and like, just the stuff with Hawk in these 3 episodes, like, them finding out the address and him going, and then like it comes back and he's like, I had to drink 3 pots of chamomile tea, and a little bit of comedy there.
Easily the best cop that Twin Peaks has ever had. Like he does
because he actually he knows how to do the job and like get leads and solve things.
That's exactly right. Again, without we're jumping ahead, but I mean, he saves the day at the end of episode 12. Like he's the one whose eye is on the ball. Sure.
And I mean, he's like, you guys aren't good at keeping a secret. Like, you guys are bad detectives.
I look at it like Hawk is to Twin Peaks like Snake Eyes is to G.I. Joe. He's the strong, silent guy in the background who just gets shit done. Like it's just, he's the one you rely on when things are going to go south. That's your guy, man. That's the guy you put in. He's the one you put in play.
And he has that great moment when we find out who the baby daddy is to Lucy, and that whole exchange with Lucy doing her crossword and all the different words he uses.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Dick is another great character. Like,
Dick Tremaine. Yes,
it's easy to write him off because he, is, maybe later in the series used for a lot of filler, and he is sort of a side distraction from some of the main sort of plots. But he's so much fun when he's on the screen, and the actor does such a great job, like making us hate him.
Well, that actor. One of my favorite things of the 90s is the pilot episode of David Lynch's On the Air. Okay. And he plays Lester Guy, the host of the Lester Guy show. And he's one of the funniest damn things on the planet. And if you've never seen the pilots On the Air, like the rest of the shows are okay, but that pilot is one of the single funniest hours of television I've ever seen. Like unbelievably funny. And again, when I first saw it, I was like, oh my God, they've got Dick Tremaine playing like the guy who hosts this show. And he basically is Dick Tremaine if he was a 1950s TV show host. And he's just as pretentious.
Yeah, he ends up doing a lot of different things as the show goes on.
He's just as pretentious and awful there as he is in Twin Peaks.
Well, what's funny is when I'm watching this and his performance, I'm like, okay, well, this guy just came off of a soap opera. Like, he knows he's in a soap opera. And I'm looking at his credits. He was in General Hospital and The Bold and the Beautiful,
Yeah, I think he
Days
was a
of Our
soap actor.
Lives.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah, so like he was doing it, and he pops up in David Fincher's Panic Room as the realtor or the guy showing the house, and he's like playing that kind of role there too. Like, yeah,
and he could have been, he could have been the baby daddy to Brando, but
Wally Brando.
Fortunately,
baby.
not.
Cannot wait to get to that episode. I cannot wait to get to that.
I know. I can't wait either. One of my single favorite moments of TV ever.
Oh my god, dude. That's fantastic. All right, so looking at this episode, the other key thing I really like too is that, of course, we get Philip Gerard becoming Mike, and it's an incredibly critical point. The other thing that I like across these episodes is that we continue to see the respect and the friendship between Agent Cooper and Harry.
Absolutely.
Things is, of course, when everything's going down, we know about Jean Reno, and we're kind of getting these 3 episodes are kind of one big movie almost.
Yeah.
We know that Jean Reno's plan is to eliminate Agent Cooper, and so Cooper's telling Harry, I need the best of the guys. I need the best of the Bookhouse boys. Like, I need someone to have my back. And Harry's like, I'll get you in contact with him. He's the very best. And I'll be goddamn if it's not Harry himself.
Right.
I love that Harry's going to absolutely go to bat and literally be like, dude, you're my boy. And if you're going into this, I'm absolutely coming with you.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. This is it. Full stop. I'm in. Let's go do this.
I love that
so much.
I love the scene in the bar, which is I forget if it's episode 12 or episode 11 or episode 12, but the look on Cooper's face, like, of course it was you.
Of course it was Harry.
Yeah, my friend still does that snap move when they're like referring back to that, because it's just so Cooper, and it's just so, in a lot of ways, it's just joyous. You're right. It's part of their friendship that is so magical to watch. And you're right. Even though, again, if he was really sending his best, he would have said Hawk, but
right.
But it's not necessarily about that. It's about him having his back and making.
And you know what it really comes down to too is it's also Harry not trying to put Hawk in danger. Right. Like, Harry's really literally doing this to make sure that nobody else has to put their necks on the line. Yeah. And he knows he's got the skills. I mean, and Harry's a very confident officer.
Oh, of course.
And he does awesome work in that whole scene. He's fan-fucking-tastic in that sequence. But Hawk is obviously the one you would, and luckily Hawk knows he needs to be there, and he's there. Because he's Hawk. But I love that Harry's really wanting to make sure that nobody else has to get involved. It's absolutely like, if anybody's going to get hurt, it's going to be me. It's not going to be them. That's right. Because they're
very Harry Truman. Yeah.
And I love he's such a great character. God, I love Harry so much. I do. I love Harry so much.
One of my only sad parts about this sort of run of episodes is, and I think I read somewhere that that Sherilyn Fenn was sick a lot during this period, and that's why. But her part is just so minimalized, and we see so little of Audrey getting to do all the things that makes Audrey so fascinating, and like
she's basically drugged up the whole time. I mean, that sucks. Yeah, I agree.
And that part does suck. I mean, it serves the story, and like I said, I understand that it may have actually been that she was under, like, she was sick enough that she couldn't do big scenes, but at the same time, it is sad not to have Audrey there being Audrey, because that was one of the greatest parts of season one, is all of her adventures. And so I do miss Audrey in these.
If there's anything that I would want to change, and boy, this is just an if, but I would love for Audrey to have a little more agency in her escape. You know what I mean? Like, and again,
me too.
They did what they could. If she was sick and couldn't do stuff, then hey, man, I get it. You got to make it work. But because of what we know about Audrey, it would totally track and be so completely Audrey that she would be almost like making her way out already and then running into Cooper and Harry and being like, hey, I'm so glad you guys are here. Let's get the hell out. Yeah. Like, that's how it, and that's probably what they would have wanted to do had she not been sick. Because if she was sick, then you got a production schedule. You got to keep to it. You got to make it work. I get that. I do. But I do think Audrey would have had absolute agency in her escape if she wasn't sick. I can't fathom them dropping the ball on that, because she's such an independent, dynamic spirit in the first season. Why would you expect her to be anything different when she's in a more, even in a scarier place? Well, if she's backed in a corner, that girl's going to bust out claws, man. Audrey ain't going down. She ain't going down without a fight. No way, no day.
What do you guys make of the exchange between Ben and Agent Cooper when Agent Cooper's like can kind of talks to him at the inn and it's like, do you know where she is? Have you heard anything?
I do like that Ben does actually show some actual humanity in that scene. That he really is scared for her. Like he wants her to get home. I mean, you know that he, in his weird, messed up way, he does love her. Like that we do know. But it's also so perfectly Ben that at the same time, he's like, how am I going to get the money back and also kill this guy off so that I don't lose anything? I get my daughter back and I get that money back. I mean, Ben's always, he's always two steps ahead. He's playing chess. Everybody else is playing checkers. Ben Hart's playing chess, man.
So I agree. I think that's exactly right. I think he's very worried. I think he wrote it off thinking, Audrey's like taken off before, but
she's being
now that he knows she's in danger, he's very worried. He loves her. He wants her back, but he also wants to make sure that he comes out and she comes out ahead of everybody else. And so he's scheming and figuring all that out. And he doesn't care if Cooper brings her back and saves her, great. If Cooper dies in the process, who cares? Like he doesn't care about any of that. Nope. He just cares about getting what he needs to out of this, which is Audrey back and,
his money.
Yeah.
But his line to Cooper, is that a warning or a threat?
Well, they're also, they're building towards making Ben the big red herring, right?
Yeah.
So I think some of this is playing into that motivation of wanting to make it seem like, Ben is the killer and that Cooper and him are going to have their showdown, right? They even, we'll talk about this maybe next time, but they even filmed him doing some of the murders and just in case, right? So I think, some of this has to do with really maintaining our potential belief that Ben could be the killer. And I think that, but I also think it's like, and just like they always do with any of the red herrings that they threw at us, they give it an in-story good reason. Like Ben sees Cooper as a threat to his power in this town. He is not, he is always going to be trying to be the dominant person.
Oh, yes.
So I don't think any of it's inconsistent with the fact that he's not the killer.
No,
but it also
Ben
plays well into helping us.
He has his little underground empire, and he does not want that empire to crumble, right? Like he controls, it's like he controls the crime and the decency of the city, like the town. It's amazing how it works. But yeah, he definitely has his little underground kingdom. He does not want that disturbed. So if Cooper is collateral damage, that's all he is. He's collateral damage. But hey, guess what? Nobody messes with my stuff. I still got my black-eyed and one-eyed jacks. I've still got, everybody controlled there. I've still got money coming in from that. I still got money coming from this. I got Ghostwood Estates on a roll now. Like, wait, this is
he doesn't know he's about to get completely steamrolled in the next few episodes. But he also, I think there's something about, I don't think he knows that Leland is the killer. And so I've
never thought that.
No. And so he probably also wonders, like, what is this investigation going to uncover, right? Like, I don't want any, like you said, he's got a lot of fingers and a lot of pies. He doesn't want any of this blowback to him. Yeah. Because I don't think he has any clue about Leland.
No, because I mean, remember, he wants Leland back as his lawyer. He wants Leland back doing his damn job so that he can get this money rolling in. So I've never thought that he suspected Leland ever. And it just goes to show that's where his focus is more on that than the murder of Laura Palmer, the grief that Leland's going through. Nope, sorry guys, I got bigger fish to fry.
Yeah,
I gotta look out for Ben, but he does go to the hearing, right? He's there, he's present.
He is.
Yes, that's because, again, he wants his lawyer back. He wants to make sure that this isn't going to interfere with his business. And if this investigation gets in the way, I want to talk a little bit about, I think we're jumping into the next episodes here, but the whole, I'm a lawyer. And so whenever I see court stuff on TV, I always find it so fascinating. And they play, yes. I love that even though like, there's no way, like, the court scenes are completely unbelievable, but in the world they create, they seem like exactly how it would go down.
Yeah.
Like in terms of the world the show creates, that is how I imagine a circuit judge would like behave and all of that stuff, right?
Just showing up to random towns to hold his court. Like, yeah, dude.
Yeah. And
there's
just sort of wielding
Winnebago.
justice left, right, and center without necessarily like having to, yeah.
No, it's again, in the world, it works. You don't even question it. It just all makes perfect sense. You're like, yeah, of course, that's what they do.
Yeah.
And you know, again, looking at, you know, everything there's so much going on in these 3 episodes, like so much that it really does feel like you said, it's kind of like almost like a little trilogy in and of itself.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like Star Trek 2, 3, and 4. You know, it's all going on like right here, man. Like it's all right here.
There's a lot of plot.
A lot of plot, you know, a lot of things happen. We also, the big thing in episode 12, we finally see Josie Packard come back.
Yes.
And we have her
and
BS
Catherine, but we'll say that.
But we have Josie's BS story about, I've just been shopping in Seattle. I went on a shopping trip because I was so scared and needed to get out. So I just went shopping, you know. So yeah, we get that. We get Pete believing that Catherine is dead.
Yeah.
Like he's made Pete the fact that she is. And of course, then we get Mr. Tojimura, a character who does not appear if this show is made today.
No.
Right. Yeah.
No.
But R.I.P. Piper Laurie. I'm so glad that Mr. Tojimura exists.
Yeah, I know. I know. There's so much wrong with it, but in so many ways, it's like delightful to see how, and the way that, again, part of it is watching Catherine, who is despicable in many ways.
Yes.
But watching her triumph is so joyous in the next little bit. We're not there yet, but.
No, but I will say this. I think the Tojimura is absolutely like Twin Peaks at its most soap opera.
Right.
Which is what I love about it, because oh my God in heaven, it's the person comes back under a different form. They've had a facelift or whatever. That is exactly what the Tojimura subplot is. And I mean, you know, she's been in a coma and comes back to life kind of thing. You see all that goofy shit in soap operas, and this was their chance to do it. And even still, as goofy as it is, it's still riveting to watch. Like I can't take my eyes off of it. Again, Piper Laurie, what a
and they give us so many great distractions. The whole MT Wentz little subplot
oh my God,
feeds into so many different ongoing stories, right? Like it ends up being related to Norma, but we don't know that yet. But they've got Norma and Hank worrying about this. They've got who is this for? They, you know, and you honestly think, you know, Tojimura is going to be MT Wentz maybe, or like there's so many great ways they come up with distracting us from what's right in front of our faces.
Yep.
And
that's
man. You even got the clerk working at the inn, like calling Norma and like telling Ben, and it's like all this little drama with this person. But the one thing I want to talk about that I think they did very well in the first episode 10, is I like when they talk to Jacoby instead of like when he goes into his little trance, you know, like he doesn't say Leland because we already know that's who he saw. But I love, and then you know they just have their little chat, and then later they show up at his house and say you're under arrest.
Yeah. No, for sure. I think it's so well handled. Again, that's Leslie Linka Glatter just doing a great job. And yeah, so well shot, so well handled. It's Jacoby at one of his more, you know, lucid moments. And it's, you know, they're arresting the killer, which is remarkable. And then they, you know, he gets out, he gets released on his own. Like that whole little story, like now again, watching it, it's like, oh, imagine if the judge had kept him in custody.
Yeah.
How different things would have been.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It would change everything.
So, Colin, you're telling me in a court of law, the prosecutor doesn't get melodramatic like that when he's trying to tell people that someone should stay behind bars?
Well, maybe a little, but but the you know, the whole thing with the you know, him being this, you know, driving around in his RV with his law clerk, shacking up with his law clerk, like there's all that. It's just like, oh my God, like there's a lot of things that probably wouldn't be in if it was being made today. That's probably another one, but But I do love, like I said, I actually really do love the courtroom scenes in this bit. I love how they take over it's the roadhouse, isn't it? That they take over to make into the courthouse, I think.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I love that in a town like this, they have to come up with a space that's to set up, take over to be the court for a while, because they wouldn't have a courthouse in a town this size, right?
Now, I will say the last time we did this, I mentioned one of my favorite scenes of season 2, and it finally happens in these 3 episodes.
Mm.
And it's Andy when he gets the call about his sperm count.
Yeah.
I'm a whole damn lines ever uttered
Yeah.
by a human being on network television.
Yeah.
It's a great line. Yeah.
A horrible
it's a great
system.
moment.
Yeah, it's wonderful and hilarious, but a horrible system of keeping track of everyone that's called the police station with all his random post-it notes everywhere.
God, but seriously, like, I'm a whole damn town. That scene is priceless. Good Lord, do I love it. Like, because now all of a sudden we have hope that it's not Dick Tremaine's kid. If Andy's sperm count's gone up, then it feasibly could and should be Andy. So, Wally Brando will have a very different outcome, damn it.
Yes. Well, and I like that you brought up Josie's return, because I do think this part's important, because again, now again, knowing what we know now, we know that she shot Cooper and left town. Yep. It's, seeing her come back, she knows she's on thin ice, and she's got to try to get her pieces in order. She's dealing with Hank. She's dealing with Ben. She's heard that Catherine's dead, so that's probably a bit of a relief for her. So she's, but she knows she's up against a wall, and she's playing. So she's got to get, she's got to make sure that Harry is still in her pocket. Like, it's a great scene. It's her coming back. She looks amazing. Like, it's
but that scene is a straight up like femme fatale seduction of Harry Truman. Like, it really It's so well played, and God, she looks stunning in that scene. Like, man, oh man, Harry, you did well, sir. You did well.
No wonder he's so taken. But
dude, you understand. But it's like, again, it really does have that film noir kind of vibe to it.
Yes,
and knowing who Josie is, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
Yeah, she's such a great character. She's juggling so many balls right now, and so many things could go wrong for her at any moment. Like, the tension for her, I just think is remarkable. And so watching her in that scene and seeing her take control, doing what she needs to take control is just amazing.
And that's the key there. She genuinely takes control of that scene. Harry is absolutely powerless, dude. It's double indemnity like happening right there, dude. It's absolutely that. Like, he is Fred McMurray getting just totally creamed at that point, man. Like,
getting taken.
Yeah, he's done. He's absolutely done. And it's so well shot. There's a genuine sexual tension to the scene. There's emotional tension to the scene. Like, it's as you're watching it, like, man, she is playing him like a fiddle, like, straight up, man. Like, playing him hard, dude. Playing him hard.
What was funny is I was watching it the other morning, and my wife was leaving for work. And she doesn't watch the show, and she's seen bits and pieces, but she's like, oh my God. She's like, she's laying it on thick. She's like, this is all put on.
Well, and in that same episode, we find out about the mysterious Japanese man who we've seen in various background shots, where we find out that's Jonathan.
And hands Hank his ass.
He hands Hank his ass big time. And it's the first time Hank has been handled by anyone. Yeah. And we don't even know this dude. And man, he effortlessly puts Hank down, dude. Like, it's scary. Like, this guy's like not someone to be trifled with, man. Like, straight up ninja shit right there, dude. It's great. And of course, I felt very happy watching Hank get his ass kicked. It makes me very pleased. It really does.
Yeah. Well, this is all going to lead into the Eckert and Packard, drama that's coming down the road, which I actually really enjoy that storyline.
I do too.
And I think there's a lot that's interesting there and going on. So this is sort of setting up a lot of it, which is great. And but I just think Josie's wonderful here. And we've missed her. Like, it's been like 2 or 3 episodes that we don't get to. Like, I know that's one thing I noticed that's different. You're starting to notice it now. Not everyone's in every episode anymore, right? So we're getting episodes where we don't see Bobby and Shelley, right? Or for another episode or 2.
Because we also
see for a bit. Yeah.
We need to remember their whole thing with Leo and Shelley, like, not going against him, and Cooper thinking that it's all an insurance fraud thing, and then of course there is the whole thing with him getting that bed and everything.
Mr. Pinkle, Mr. Pinkle is another great
Yeah.
moment in these episodes.
God, man, that stuff is tremendous. It is. It's tremendous.
I think it's interesting that Cooper's a little bit right on the money, but they don't know that it's Bobby that's persuading Chili to go like this option.
Yeah.
Yep. It's absolutely Bobby. No, it really is.
Yeah.
The other thing that we also get to see in this is the return of Nadine.
Yes.
Who has reverted back to her high school days.
Days, man. Oh, dude. You know what? Like, honestly, like, Wendy Roby plays her so beautifully in those moments. Like, you see that childish gleam in her eye. I was gonna say her eyes, but her eye. You see it, like, you really do. And again, that's Twin Peaks at its most soap opera best. You know, that again, a soap opera trope, but for whatever reason, it works in the reality of this show. And I do love, like, just looking at Ed's face as she starts talking to him, like, just watching him be like, "Oh my God in heaven, what is going on here?"
Yeah, his reactions are great.
Yeah, I mean, I do love, again, like, Ed's such a great character, and he loves her.
He's one of my favorites, honestly.
He loves her. He's not in love with her. He's in love with it's
Norma.
but it's and I don't love all that this storyline generates, like, later in the show. But a lot of it I do really like. And I do think this part is interesting because, and I think it makes sense in a lot of ways, like that she would, with what the trauma that she's been going through, that her psychology might be to revert back to an age where she felt like she could maybe either, relive her life in a different way, or potentially, like, go back to a time when she felt that things were happier. Like, I think a lot of it makes sense.
You hit on that right there. It's a chance for her to relive her life in a different way, where she becomes a cheerleader, where she becomes popular, because she talks about, when she met Ed, that she was the mousy, quiet girl. Yes. She knew somehow that he was going to be hers. And yet now she ends up becoming a cheerleader. She's super strong. Like, and it's just nuts. But it's like, it's the life. It's like her getting to relive her life the way she wanted to believe, like, wanted it to be. Yeah. Or more importantly, the way that her brain interpreted that would be. It's not reality, but it's what her brain thinks it would be. So that's why it happened. But no, I think it's a big part of it. It's letting her revert back to where Ed and her make more sense to even her.
Yes.
If you really think about that, it's really what it is. It's her making those connections make even more sense. It's a subconscious thing that's always been there for her, but now she gets to try to, like, basically she tries to become Norma. If you really think about it, that's what she's got to do.
Yeah.
All right. And I love when he takes her home and James is there and she's like, "Where's Mom and Dad?" And he's like, "Oh, they're out of town."
And just James and Ed looking at each other like, "Oh, shit."
Well, I love how, like, Jacoby, I guess this part comes later, but Jacoby's advice is just roll with it. Just let her like this. And again, maybe that's probably not realistic, but in this show, it makes sense. And again, I think all of this.
Jacoby makes sense saying that. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's definitely a Jacoby answer.
Good point. But I do love, and I mean, I'm glad that we know that she ends up in a great place at the end. Like, she's one of the people who gets a happy ending, which is one of the few. But
when you get to the return, it is one of those things where I kind of wondered, like, will there be, like, the resolution for certain characters that we've wanted to see? Now, we just getting ahead of a little bit, but I do love that we finally see Run Silent, Run Drapes, that it actually exists as Quiet Drapes. God bless her. Run Silent, Run Drapes is one of the best things ever. But that where everything ends up going for her and for Ed and for Norma, if we never get anything else Twin Peaks again, I'm very satisfied with where those three in particular end at the end of the return.
Well, and unfortunately, Norma's no longer with us.
I know it's one of those things when I was watching the return, and we'll get to that when we get to that. But I will say, when the moment finally happened with the three of those characters in that one episode, genuine tears.
So good,
Holy cats, man! It was cathartic. Like, it really was. It was. I've been waiting so long for all of them to be happy, and you finally, not getting into it yet, but you do see there is genuine resolution for all three of them. And it might be my single favorite payoff from the return. Honestly, it might very well be.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I do wanted to ask about the moments. We're getting near the end of the episode 12, where um, Maddie's giving James the cold shoulder in the coffee shop, and I'm never 100% sure why she's again I'm not like. What do you guys think is going on there for her? Why is she sort of pushing him out and pushing him away there? What's going on for you there, do you think?
For me, I got the guilt of what it did to her and Donna. Because and again, why is she helping Donna so much? I think a big part of it is she's trying to make up for what happened during the Just You and I song. I really feel like a lot of it is just that. I think it's Maddie trying to make things right between her and Donna. And I think Maddie knows that James and Donna should be together. So I kind of feel like it's her not only stepping away from him, but also trying to maybe play a little matchmaker to get his focus back on Donna and not on her. Because I think also Maddie's picking up on, while she's been there and seen how people have reacted to her when she looked like Laura Palmer.
Right.
I think she's starting to figure out, like, I don't want to be doing this. Like, Laura, like, there's stuff about my Laura I don't know, and I don't think I want to know. And I'm going to help these people with maybe finding her murder, but I don't think I want to know any more about her. Right. And I think I need to remove myself from that kind of drama. That to me is how I saw it. Watching it again, I just feel like it's definitely her just needing to get out of that, trying to break up the triangle basically and make it just, one line between James and Donna, no offshoots. Me and Donna are good pals. James and I will be friends, and that's it. They need to be together, and that's how I've always seen that scene.
I think you're right. I think that makes sense, and I mean, it also sets up that James gets to be Hawk a little bit and like follow, end up showing up and saving the day a little bit at the end. We're not quite there yet in these episodes, but almost.
But it's hard not to talk about where we're going because it's all so connected. I think that's the thing that really comes down to. But no, that's a great scene though, and I've never thought that Cheryl Lee ever has gotten the credit she deserves as an actress. Like, she's so good as Maddie, and Maddie is so wholly different from Laura. Like, they are just not this. They look alike, sure. That is exactly where it ends. It's beyond that. They are not the same person whatsoever. Even her voice is different. Like, it really is good work, man. And again, that's a soap opera trope of an actor or actress playing their twin or whatever. Again, it's a total trope, but it never feels like a trope because it's done so well.
Especially in the first season, they would contrast it with the in-show soap opera, right? And the evil twins, the evil twin character that was in that show.
Invitation to Love, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Poor Chad.
And you're right, they were doing it in a completely different way that just made it, exactly.
Yeah, An Invitation to Love, by the way, it's still like one of my favorite things ever. Like,
it's kind of too bad that we don't see any more of it. But
it really is a shame. Like, that stuff was gold. It really was.
I guess Lynch hated it supposedly, but Frothy was.
I thought it was.
But God, it's funny. Oh, wow. Like, I'd watch a whole episode of Invitation to Love. Like, just absolutely would watch it. I have no qualms about that at all. What are the big things that happen in these episodes? Of course, we get to what happens with Harold, obviously. The discovery that Harold has like the real diary. That's one of those things where you're kind of like, holy shit. Like, man, Laura really does have some secrets and we really don't know. Like,
that is a really cool bookcase though, by the way.
That whole thing is really nice. Yeah, that is. But that whole thing where it's like she's doing the Meals on Wheels thing and we find out, okay, well, that's really cool. She's doing something really nice. It's Meals on Wheels. And it's like, oh, but she's maybe hooking up as a high school kid with this agoraphobic adult. Like, we don't know, but we know. It's got,
and we've read the diary, right? Like, the implication is it's the book that we've all bought as we were waiting for season 2 to come and read. Laura, what is her name? The writer.
Jennifer Lynch. Yeah.
Jennifer Lynch.
Yeah, Jennifer Lynch.
Yes. Yeah.
The other thing is it's a subliminal thing. Like, I mean, it's not. It's there, but you don't have to notice it if you don't want to notice it. But I mean, he's got orchids, guys. Like, I'm just saying, he's got orchids, right? Like, it's so like subliminally creepy at the same time. Like, yeah,
and he's always drinking a glass of wine too every time.
Every time
Donna comes
high
up.
school age Donna is over there, homeboy's got wine. Like, yeah, man. Like it's there is definitely that line is there, man. Like, you know, it's there. I like the fact that they don't have to beat you over the head with it. They don't make it so blatant, but it's definitely there. And again, the tagline to the movie is so perfect. In a town like Twin Peaks, no one is innocent. And really, that's what we're seeing.
Even though I would bet, from what we know about Laura and her and her relationships, Harold was probably one of the healthier ones that she had.
No, that's for sure.
Oh, like, for sure. Yeah.
Thing about it. That's so sad that we have to say that.
I know.
An adult who should not have been touching a high school age girl is probably the best like comfort. Like genuine comfort that she had. And that's again that much more tragic and that much more sad that he was probably the best outlet she had. Now, granted, as an artist, there are things he could probably help her process. I'm not going to deny that part. But ultimately, let's be honest, Harold was getting something out of it too.
Yeah, sure.
And we know what he was getting out of that. And so that's again what it just adds another layer to the tragedy of Laura Palmer. Like, honestly, it really does. It adds another layer to her sadness. And, you know, man, going back and rewatching it, you do start picking up on things differently. And I know that a lot of this stuff was not meant to be taken that way because they didn't know where it was going to go. But it's amazing how Lynch was able to somehow cycle it all back to where simple little moments and simple things in these first two seasons end up having humongous like impact.
Yeah, because he never shot any of the episodes with Harold, so his only time working with Lenny Von Dolan was the movie. So but again, I was really glad to see him there because I think even though again he's not in as much as I would have liked, the scenes that he has are important to Laura.
Oh, very
to the movie. Yeah. So,
well, and again, establishing Laura's routine with the Meals on Wheels and who is all on her little path that she takes. Of course, Mrs. Chalfont or Tremaine, I'm sorry, on there, cream corn, all that good stuff. Like, you start seeing how all these people kind of come into Laura Palmer's life, and it's like, is it fate? Is it determined? Like, I don't know, man. It's so odd. There's a lot of things you can look at in Laura Palmer's existence, like how much of it is happenstance, how much of it is accident, but how much of it is fate, how much of it was predetermined by forces. Well,
now that we know there's like the fireman maybe manipulating things that you do, like you wonder, was Harold sent to her as a way of support or something in some way, or did she find someone completely unconnected that wasn't part of all of the everything that she could find some safety in, right? And we have to say goodbye to Blackie. She's done.
Yeah, man.
She's a tragic character too. I mean, she's a villain, but she's also a tragic character. We know that Ben ruined her.
Exactly.
And that then now Jean has, disposed of her just as if she doesn't matter. Right. Like in some ways, as I was watching it this time, I mean, I don't like her, but at the same time, I think I came to be more sympathetic to just what a raw deal she got.
Well, she's another casualty in Ben Horn's climb to the top. I mean, she really is. She's another rung in the ladder, and it's sad. The number of women that Ben Horn has used and abused to make his little empire. Blackie is one of the greatest tragedies because, again, she was put into a position of power. And even in that, he still held all the cards. He had her addicted, and he knew that she would do anything for him because he was her only outlet to get what she needed. That's just tragic, man. It is tragic.
That's right.
What could Blackie have been if she didn't cross paths with Ben Horn? Right? Like, she's a smart and strong woman. Who knows what great things she could have done if she doesn't get involved with Ben Horn. Like, again, these are the kinds of things you can think about when you go back and rewatch the series. Like, what could these people have been like if they weren't in Twin Peaks, if they weren't attached?
I think you're right. I mean, Twin Peaks does a really good job, I think, of really showing, sort of the way men often will, exploit the women in their lives, and this is just another example of that. And like I said, I mean,
yes,
we don't necessarily like Blackie, but I think we can maybe be a little sympathetic to where she's coming from.
Absolutely.
What she does to Audrey is largely based in what was done to her.
Absolutely. And it's also what she has to do to get her fix.
Yeah.
Like, again, she's a victim, because an addict, you know, that's one thing about it. When you're an addict, you know, people I've talked to who become addicts to anything, they're like, man, you don't understand. Like, it consumes your brain.
Yeah.
You can't think about anything else. So you will do whatever it takes to make that hurt go away. And that's exactly what they do to Blackie. I mean, it's the scene where, you know, where Jerry has the little bag for her, you know, you watch the way that she basically, she's like, I mean, like a zombie almost, like trying to get it. It's sad, man. It really is. It's sad. And they know they hold all the cards, and they know that she'll do whatever they want. She's literally like a slave, basically. I mean, she really is. It's sad. Again, the more you find out about Ben Horne, the more like you absolutely fucking hate Ben Horne. He's just the worst. And it's interesting to see where he ends up in The Return. I thought that was actually one of the more interesting storylines as well. And even a hint of redemption for him in The Return.
Yeah, the show has to do a lot of heavy lifting to give him redemption, and I think it pulls it off. But
it does. No, it actually does. It really does.
Like you said, we're seeing, there's a lot of villains in this show, but
this second season, you really see, and you can see where you definitely see where they were building up Ben to be the major antagonist. Like, you can see where it could have gone that way, where he was the one responsible for Laura's death. You can see how they could have easily set that in play, because again, and it would end up making the show feel a little more pedestrian if he's the one, because basically it's like, the guy who's running the the Dark Empire, basically the blackness of the underbelly, the guy who's running that is the guy who's responsible for her death. So in the end, Cooper has to take down the big bad and saves the day. That would have been the pedestrian way of doing it, and thank God that's not the way they chose.
I agree. I'm so glad that's not what happened.
But Ben is definitely, I mean, we love to hate Ben Horne. We do. But you got to give credit to his nuanced performance. You've got to give credit to the fact that Ben is horrible, but he never gets quite to mustache twirling evil.
No.
There's still humanity to him. He still has a family. He still has a wife and kids. He does have that. He's not all 100% evil. And even when you say that he's evil, you have to look at it that Ben Horne is, if he's anything, he is mega opportunistic.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Looking at the thing that's going to
anything that's going to help him, benefit him.
Now, is he evil? I can't say that, but what I can say is he has very, very low moral standard. I can tell you that. Dude's not afraid to get his feet dirty. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not afraid to go down certain paths. But a lot of times what's interesting about Ben, he's not the one doing the stuff. It's the people he's paid to do the stuff, like Hank, like Leo. Like, he's not getting his hands dirty. He's making sure other people do it and can't trace it back to him. But is he responsible for it? Yes. And he is absolutely an opportunistic bastard. But again, he's the bad guy you love to hate, because there are layers to his performance. He's always interesting to watch. He's always a fascinating character. It's just, man, it's good stuff. Ben is a fantastic villain, but I love the fact that he's not just over the top, evil villain. There are layers to that character, and you have to have that for an effective villain. You have to have it for an effective antagonist. You have to have layers.
Right.
And Ben Horne's got them, man. Jeez.
Yeah, and we also see the end of the sleazy, shitty store manager, because Jean Reno.
Oh yes.
Right. Yeah, no tear shed there.
No, that guy totally had it covered. I got no problem with that one.
Yeah.
It's more about Audrey seeing just how dire the situation is. Like, I don't think she'd seen anyone get killed yet, right? So I think she's realizing, oh shit, like, they could kill me, right? Like, there's that moment there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's again, like, there's so much in these 3 episodes. God, they're so densely packed.
I know, they really are.
So densely packed. I think what I come away with though is again rewatching these 3 episodes, and man, they really do all fit together beautifully because you get the payoff of the rescue of Audrey. It really just goes to show, though, again, at this point, they really were firing on all cylinders because, again, we're still introducing new characters. We're still introducing new evidence. We're still introducing new subplots. And yet none of it is feeling like oh, I don't care about that, or characters are being pushed aside. Like everybody is still getting their due, which is just, again, when you think of the number of characters that are in this season already, that's a yeoman's job to pull all that off. That is genuinely impressive writing and storytelling and plotting to make all of this fit in a, I guess an hour-long TV show is roughly about 48 minutes or whatever after ads. So you got to get all of that done in less than 50 minutes, and they're still getting it done. That's impressive, man. It is. Yeah,
because this is still, I guess, the heyday of the show, right? Because the mystery hasn't. So these were great 3 episodes. What else do you guys want to talk about these 3?
I think we've hit all the highlights.
Yeah, I think we sort of covered most of. I mean, it was a great arc, like you said, a lot of plot that's so effectively done. The storylines all sort of flow so well into what is really the next chapters is going to be, really big. And so, this is really setting it all up. And there's so many seeds being laid that are going to pay off not just in the next couple episodes, but even further down the road.
Even into the return.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. 25 years later.
Really solid 3 episodes for sure.
It really is. It's some of the best television that they did, honestly, for Twin Peaks. It's absolutely some of the best. I think for me, the thing I definitely come away with it when it's all said and done. The plot thing that really always sticks out to me that I just love so much is, of course, again, the Bookhouse Boys and Cooper and Cooper and Harry's relationship and all of them going to bat to save Audrey at the end. I mean, Cooper and Harry are going in, and then suddenly Hawk is there, and Andy ends up helping. Everybody contributes, and I just love the fact that they're such a cohesive unit. And it's beyond like being just officers. Like there's a brotherhood there that is not anything to do with the badges on their chest and everything to do with the honor and courage in their hearts. And I absolutely I cannot say enough good things about those characters. Ed as well. The Bookhouse Boys are some of the best characters on the show, period. Their relationships are phenomenal. The actors are all just, spot on. And of course, Cooper, one of my favorite characters in the history of all things pop culture. Seeing all of them work together and seeing the payoff of the shakedown at One-Eyed Jack's when they go in and rescue Audrey, that is some awesome stuff, man. And it really just, every time I watch it, I'm so excited for them to get in there and get her out. Like I love that part so much. Everything else is great too. God, everything else we've talked about is fantastic. But that's always like one of my favorite moments to get to in season 2 is the rescue of Audrey from One-Eyed Jack's. I just think it's such exciting and fun, and it becomes almost a police procedural at some point. You know what I mean? Like, and again, Mark Frost, that inspiration is definitely there. But I really just love that part. And again, it just goes to show that Twin Peaks really had something to offer for everybody.
They don't drag it out either. Like, it's efficiently told, like it's exciting, and it goes on. It's actually quite quick, but it's a very everything that needs to be there is there.
But it's so good. And again, everybody, if you like horror, if you like comedy, if you like action, if you like drama, it's all there. Like, it's all there. It's the 3-ring circus approach, man. Don't like monkeys, we got elephants over here. Don't like those, we got clowns. Don't like that, we got acrobats. Like, there's something there for everybody. And I just, these 3 episodes, they really are a great little capsule of everything that makes Twin Peaks great. They really are. If you really think about it, everything is there. The comedy, the horror, the action, the drama, it's all there, man. And those 3 episodes alone, they are a really great little capsule of what, when Twin Peaks is at its best, those 3 episodes are a great encapsulation of what that looks like.
Well, and we started our discussion with Leslie Linka-Glata. She's coming back for the next episode that we're to watch.
That's exactly right.
Nice.
Again, one of the, I think, best directed episodes of the series. Like it just leads so well into, the big episode. Like it's so well done. It's one of my favorites. It's up there as one of my favorites. I can't wait to rewatch it and discuss it with you guys, because I just love everything about, like, it's just the level of excitement. And part of it is taking me back to that moment when I was first watching the series, didn't know what was happening, and was just so excited to see what was going to be happening next. And this episode was just one of those ones that just had me just reeling. So I'm excited to rewatch it again.
Well, I will say one of my favorite things about the next episode, I got 2 words for it, and it's Gordon Cole.
Yes.
My God, man, he absolutely one of my favorite things about Twin Peaks. And the return, every moment that he's in the return is my favorite moment in the return. Like, I adore Gordon Cole, and I cannot wait to get to talk about him. Yeah, boy, we're getting into some big stuff coming up.
This is going to be a really fun section. Yes. So,
God,
I guess
we are. Yeah, God, we are.
My question is, how much do we want to bite off for the next? Because there's some big stuff coming up here. Like, do we?
Yeah. How many episodes? Yeah. What do you want to do?
Because there's a part of me that thinks, well, there's so much going on in the next 2, like the lead up and then the big reveal, that might be enough. But at the same time, it's kind of a 4-episode arc, right? That's starting. Yeah. There's like a 4 episodes arc that's kind of happening here. So I just don't know what you guys feel in terms of how ambitious you want to be.
Oh man. I feel like these next 4 could be broken down into 2 each, because there's so much in these.
There's so much. That's what I worry about too.
We're getting into not just content, but I mean the emotional heft of these episodes. Like there's a lot to unpack. I'm going to make the suggestion we break them down into 2 each, just because
I like that
there
too.
is God. And I don't want to miss anything, because we're getting into some heavy shit, like really and truly.
We might be able to, after those 2, we might be able to start doing bigger stretches, like 4 at a time or something. But
after that, I think you can, other than the final episode of season 2, that almost could be its own episode. There's so much going on in that. God,
I agree.
It's insane.
But I think you're right. I think that even though it's kind of a 4-episode arc that happens next, I think there's so much going on that we'd be remiss to try to.
And I think where you look at where episode 14 ends, that's a good like cutoff point for intermission, basically. For this
you need a break. you definitely need a break.
We also, hell, let's be honest. At the end of episode 7, we all need a bath, a shower.
Yes.
Like it's just, oh God. Man, like I'm already thinking about how much it's going to hurt to go back through these, because man, it's. I will say this, not getting into a specific thing, but I will just say that there is a sequence in episode 7. Of course, David Lynch directed it. That still to this day, I don't know how in the hell it aired on network television in prime time. I genuinely, it is one of the most disturbing, scary, horrific things I've ever seen. And I have no clue how it got approved to be on broadcast television. It is baffling to me that it exists. I'm glad that it does, but holy shit, let me tell you now, 14-year-old me had some nightmares over that episode. Good God.
18-year-old me had nightmares about it and still does.
That's why I feel like breaking it up is important, because man, that episode alone, dude, it is a gut punch of an episode, man.
Yeah.
Oh God. Like it's almost like I can't wait to talk about it. And it's like, God, I don't want to talk about it. Because now I have to rewatch it, and it's like, oh God, it's so hard. But man, the other thing I do love too is I was just kind of looking at my little Cliff Notes things here. The other thing I love about the next episode, besides Gordon Cole, is of course we start getting the hints of Wyndham Earl. And I will, the hill I will die on is that Wyndham Earl is a better villain than anybody wants to give him credit for. The hill I will also die on is that Twin Peaks season 2 is a better season of television than people want to give it credit for as well.
Sure, I agree.
I still
absolutely.
Like I get it. People were pissed off once the murder was solved. Okay, like, well, what the hell do we do now, man? Wyndham Earl filled in that nicely for me, because that's just some scary, cool shit. And where he ends up as well, dude.
Yeah.
I think we'll get into it as we get further down, but I think it was you, Kevin, that said this. I think this whole, main plot that's going on right now with this murder investigation was just to get us into the world of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
And what they're really wanting us to do is like look at the underbelly of this town and all these quirky characters and what are they doing and what's going on.
Well, I think that what it comes down to, they want you to be invested in Twin Peaks.
Right.
Not Laura Palmer alone, but Twin Peaks. The name of the show is Twin Peaks, not The Mystery of Laura Palmer.
Right.
It's Twin Peaks. They want you to be invested in the world. And to me, that's what the rest of this season ends up being after the revelation of the murder. It's still just world building and just getting even deeper into the lore, deeper into the ethereal to the transcendent of the world of Twin Peaks, the levels of existence that not everybody is aware of, but they all kind of feel it. And that to me is where it really gets fascinating. I mean, yes, there are some things that we can all say, yes, James could have used a better send-off. Sure. Okay, fine. We'll get to it. We'll talk about it. Yeah. But when you start looking at the world building that they do within the mythos of Twin Peaks, that's where, to me, season 2 has so much payoff, because, man, it gets weird. And when it gets weird, it's far more interesting. And at times, it's genuinely, like, creepy. Like, it's almost getting into, like, cosmic horror at points. Like, if you really think about it, there are some things here that are, I'm not saying it's Lovecraftian, but I'm saying it's horror beyond the normal boundaries of what we know of existence. You know what I mean? Like, when you start talking about various dimensions or levels of planes of consciousness and existence that we can't perceive, only certain people maybe can. There is a level of cosmic horror that comes with the mythos of Twin Peaks that, again, is what makes it so interesting and so unique. And especially when we get into the return, you
absolutely is it cosmic. Yeah,
it goes. I mean, I tell people all the time, like, the return, episode 8, that's it, man. Like, there's no going back. You're either with it or you're not. But so help me, it's one of the most riveting hours of television you will ever witness in your whole damn life. And the genesis of that is all the stuff that's coming up in season 2 of Twin Peaks. We're going to get more involved with Major Briggs. We're going to learn more about all of that. It's going to get real weird, and I'm all here for it.
Yep. So 2 weeks from now is the Sunday after Thanksgiving.
That's fine.
So
is that the 26th? November 26th?
That is the 26th.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That should work for me.
Yep.
Okay. All right, then. I guess that's what we'll do. I was going to say, if that works, we'll do it.
And with that being said, an early happy Thanksgiving to you guys. And one of the things I will say, they always talk about going around the table, what are you thankful for? One of the things I'm genuinely thankful for this year has been doing this podcast with you guys, because it's great to have fellow nerds of Twin Peaks to talk with. And it's just great to cause me to revisit it and to get my partner to watch it, and she's fascinated by it. And just with anything, it's just good conversation. I really enjoy talking with you guys. It's always a pleasure to get to sit here and chat with you. And, once we get through Twin Peaks, thank God we still got a whole David Lynch filmography to go through.
We do. We got 9 movies, and I may even suggest a couple of other.
We got to do the monkey one. We got to do the monkey short.
What did Jack do? Phenomenal.
So
that was like one of my few bright spots in 2020. What did Jack do?
I appreciate you saying that. This is a really fun experience. I mean, I always love watching the show. I love having an excuse to rewatch the show, and I love having people to talk about it who love it. And so I also look forward to this all the time. So this is great.
Cody, thank you for setting this up, man. We have it's a great chance for me to meet Colin. And it's great to have just more friends in the world of Twin Peaks, man. Like, seriously, it's one of those shows that it does when you meet a fellow fan, there's like a kinship, man, like a brotherhood, because not everybody loves it, but the ones who do, man, the real ones, they get it, and it's like when you find that connection, it's a beautiful thing, man. Because Lord knows if you're into Lynch, when you find fellow Lynch nerds, it's a good day. Because usually you're talking to people and they look at you like antlers coming out of your head when you say you like David Lynch. When you find someone that really does like him, you're like, yeah, you get it. You know where I'm coming from, man.
Wow. Well, I appreciate both of you guys' expertise on this show, because when you had commented about Firewalk with me to talk about, I was like, that's just too much to unpack on its own.
Yeah.
And I'm not one who watches a lot of TV shows, and normally with these directors' filmographies, like, if we were doing a Michael Mann discussion or a David Fincher suggestion, we wouldn't have to watch Miami Vice or Mindhunter to talk about those movies, even though they are very, especially Mindhunter, David Fincher, from my understanding, is very much the creative force of that TV show, those two seasons.
I will say this, if when we get through with the Lynch filmography, if you guys want to talk Mindhunter, I will tell you right now, that's 2 of the best seasons of television I've ever watched. It is a crime that we're not getting a season 3. Just a crime. I adore it. Just tremendous filmmaking.
Absolutely. But it's just too vital in Lynch's work, even though this is mostly TV, because like when we get done with it, and even once we talk about the films and maybe which films we prefer over the other, I think at the end of the day, this is what's going to be considered his magnum opus. This television series.
It is the first thing most people think of when they think of David Lynch, is Twin Peaks. It's almost the immediate default, because even if you don't know a lot about David Lynch, you know Twin Peaks. Like you somehow come across it in some way, shape, or form, whether it's a pop cultural reference or whatever. You've come across Twin Peaks at some point in your life. Now, like I said, when we get into the films of Lynch, like, I can't wait to talk with you guys, because man, there's some of the coolest moments in cinema, man, reside in that man's catalog.
Oh yeah,
I mean, Lost
Time is one of the only horror films that scare me, to be honest.
Yeah.
And when we get to Firewalk with Me, we'll talk about how that's kind of been reclaimed now. From when it was first released.
That's another one too that not well received at first, but now I think people look at it differently now.
Well, I think we have all agreed that once we finish season 2 of Twin Peaks, we need to discuss Firewalk with Me before we go into the return.
I think so.
The other thing I was going to ask is, do you guys? I think it's kind of important. So, but if you don't think it's too important, we don't have to. But if you have access to watch The Missing Pieces, I feel like that also that will be an episode for us to talk. Of Firewalk with Me and The Missing Pieces, I think has to be one lump sum discussion before we get into the return, because
I agree. I
think I loved about the return finally truly validated the existence of Firewalk with Me. There are so many people who just always shit on that film because they wanted to see a sequel. They wanted to know what happened to Cooper, and they hated Firewalk with Me because it wasn't that. And I loved it. I mean, it blew me away, man. I saw it 3 times in 1 week. Like, it just blew me away. But I think we have to discuss at least Firewalk with Me. But I think there's enough stuff in The Missing Pieces that needs to be discussed so that it all ties in when we go into the return. So for those of you who are still watching, like, we will absolutely discuss Firewalk with Me as part of the Twin Peaks discussion. You can't discuss the return without it. It's not possible. You'll be so gone.
I may just buy the Criterion of Firewalk with Me, because it looks like the Missing Pieces are an extra feature on that.
Keep an eye on Barnes and Noble, because they've always got those sales coming up on Criterion, usually in time for Black Friday as well. You'll find it for under $30, and that's a steal for that set. I got lucky and got the Twin Peaks Z to A box set on eBay. Someone was getting rid of it, and they sold it for $120, and I was like, what? Sold. And luckily it's everything, including The Missing Pieces. And I had been so excited to finally see that, because in high school, in the early days of dial-up internet using Prodigy and AOL, I was able to get a copy of the original shooting script for Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me. And that's where all the missing pieces are in the script. And I remember thinking, like, that's not in the movie. What the hell is this? Why is that not in there? And then, of course, when The Missing Pieces came out, I'm like, finally, I get to see Sheriff Cable and Chet Desmond have their boxing match. And
Yes,
that had to be a fever dream. That can't be real. No, it's real, kids. It's
I
real.
know. I have the entire mystery Blu-ray set, and
but it's a great.
I'm
set
so
too.
happy with it because it has the movie, it has the missing pieces, it has the original pilot, it has the European pilot.
Yes.
Like it just had all of before the return. It had everything that there was.
It's a great set, so great. And you got those beautiful DTS surround sound tracks, man.
Yeah, it's really
Lynch
good.
doesn't mess up with sound, and the DTS tracks, especially on those first 2 DVD editions, which I still have the first season. The DTS on that is some of the sickest, awesome sound I've ever heard for a television show from the 90s. Like, God, it's better than it has any right to be. But Lynch personally went in and reworked it. So that's one thing I don't think Lynch gets enough credit about is his sound design. That dude's got it figured out, man. He knows what he wants. Like, it's all there. He's a genius on a level I'll never be. So we are looking at then the 26th. And that would be episodes 6 and 7. We'll look at
13 and 14.
14 and 15, 16, 7, whichever it's going to be. Whatever. We'll look at those
Demons,
and man,
Demons and Lonely Souls.
That's a lot. That's a lot to take in for one night. So
it will be. It'll be a lot. But it's Demons and
Lonely
Souls. Written by Harley Payton and Robert Engels. That says a lot. Directed by Leslie Linka Glatter. That says a lot. And then Lonely Souls, written by Mark Frost and directed by David Lynch. So that's also says a lot.
Heavy hitter right there. Heavy hitter.
Yeah, we're in for a good time. Okay.
All right. Well,
thanks, guys.
I'm
absolutely.
Some alcohol with me when we go through those.
You're going to make you a Jacoby drink?
I am going to be in my Jacoby wheelhouse of just fruity, fun drinks to help pick me up from the depression.
Yeah.
We laugh, but it's sad. It's genuinely 2 episodes of just gut punch after gut punch. Really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord. Well, I'll definitely look forward to talking with you guys about these episodes. And luckily, I've got a couple of weeks to go through them again because, oh, man. But, gents, seriously, it's been a pleasure as always. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your families. Stay safe. And I so look forward to the next discussion just because, again, it's just a pleasure to get to talk with you guys. It genuinely is, man.
Yeah.
Same here. You guys have a great week. Colin, stay warm because it's probably cold where you are.
Actually, it's been unreasonably warm, which is, concerning from a climate change point of view.
Right.
But, I'm just trying to enjoy the fact that it's unseasonably warm and green. Well, not green. It's things have turned brown, but it's still dry.
At least you can enjoy being outside a little bit. It's encouraging to be able to be outside. That's a good thing.
That's right. Exactly.
Before you have
who
to
knows? Maybe there'll be snow by the time. Maybe there'll be snow.
I was going to say by the time we next talk. Yep. It's very strong possibility up there. Absolutely. Well, gents, you guys have a good night. Cody, thanks for everything, man. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great night and a wonderful weekend. Thank you again.
All right. Bye-bye.
Later, guys.
Bye.